Okay, so how do we know, though? For instance, the Romans were very big slavers, right? And yes, they're white, but so were whoever enslaved the Egyptians, and from time to time, and even the Israelites were enslaved during the time of the Egyptians. Well, yes, I mean, right, right. I mean, do you understand? Even Moses had to include laws for slavery to protect slaves. It don't mean it's right or wrong. It means the people in power want to enslave a race or someone that's different than them because they have a satanic will. The problem is, though, they're not in power because they're the minority. They're in power because they're the majority for now, right? Well, the thing is, do you go back and do the same evil they did to you, right? If you do it that way, the evil will never end, right? You just 1 minute the blacks will be on top, then 1 minute the whites will be on top, then 1 minute the blacks will be on top, and then 1 minute the whites, right? Now that's what happened with Hitler and the SS and whoever started World War One, right? Also a German leader, right? But who's the one, who targeted the Jews? Hitler. That's anti any race, right? Not just Semitic, but anti African, anti Aborigines, anti right, based on the color of your skin alone, right? Well, like I said, the problem is you're not calling yourself simply a human being either. I'm not defined by the color of my skin. Even if I look white, I'm not 100% white. And what I found out with my DNA profile from, 23andMe is I have African ancestry, right? Even though it's 1.2%, that means I'm not 100% white nor 100% black, right? But I am more white than black. But I also have Arab in me, right? And Spanish. That's the least, right? The most is Italian, Greek, German, French, in the Austrian area, right? English and Irish, right? But technically, who I am doesn't represent a division of these countries, but a unison, right? A combination, if you will, right? Now, another thing I keep talking about is it a crime if I'm in the Burger King and I fantasize about one of the ladies behind the counter, right? But we stay where we're at and just fantasize, right? Right. Now, if I fantasize about going into the bathroom with you, that's not a crime. Now, you don't show up and argue with me about it either, because that's going to make me wonder if I really did it or not, right? It's not a crime, or you're not reading the Bible where it talks about King David and Bathsheba committing adultery against their spouses. Right? Both of them did that, by the way. Bathsheba knew David was a ladies' man. I bet she also knew he could probably see her from the balcony. Why? I know she can see him. But is it something you shouldn't do or something you can do? But even if you do it, what you gonna do about it? Kill Uriah and the baby just to make sure it's not his? Kind of looks like that's what David did to make sure the problem wasn't, usurping his throne with the child of Uriah. But if he did so, that's also called an abortion. He killed the child for a reason before it was circumcised, right? Now, usually, when I was going through the Navy, as long as it was before the third trimester, you could abort the child, right? Now they've got the 6-week rule, right? You can't do it after that, right? But what you gonna do about it, right? Say it's wrong, say this, say that, but you look like a baby killer, right? The child themselves ain't done nothing good or evil yet either. And any child, no matter how you raise them, can go bad at any moment. Even Jesus could have done something you don't understand why he did it, like the woman at the well. Now, John brings up her sexual history. That she was with 5 husbands, and the man she was with now was not her husband. Wait a minute, that's 6, right? But it does talk of 7 women taking hold of 1 man, right? In Isaiah. Was that something Peter didn't think you could deal with if you wrote it out verbatim, right? That Jesus was married, had sex with another woman, and this is before the woman caught in the act of adultery in chapter 8, right? Now, if you don't want to forgive your wife her adultery against you, what you gonna do? Murder her? You go to jail for murder, right? Then neither one of you win. That's the point too, right? Now another problem is only Rome can execute, right? Not Jesus himself either. That's the third reason he couldn't, even if they brought them in, validate a stoning. Right? Yet you might ask, well, why could they kill the disciples or, stone people in the church, like in Acts? Well, because they were given powers by the governor himself, Pontius Pilate, right? But without that approval, they couldn't have done it either. But what you don't understand is even if you think I'm crazy, you don't know me my whole life. See, I wasn't always as obsessed with religion as I was till I got into the Navy. During the first Persian Gulf War, by the way. First, it was the Persian Gulf conflict when I got in, right? Then it became the Persian Gulf War. And according to Dr. Weinrep, I was psychologically fit for full duty, for naval duty, right? It's a long way to say it, right? But even Dr. Weinrep is a human being, but so is Captain Carey, the guy who signed off on my bed board in Bethesda, Maryland. I mean, Portsmouth Naval Hospital in Virginia. Now, the problem is the fantasy of me and Sheena turned into something neither one of us thought it should have been, right? When you first meet someone, you fantasize what you want to do with them. Most men fantasize about sex, even on the first date. And like I told her, I'd done been with 5 women before you. What you think I'm in? I'm a 23-year-old man, right? You only tell someone general details when you first meet them, right? And then you explain more about what happened in your life, right? That's just every relationship you're ever in, right? You tell them the good things first and then the bad things you did as you go along. I didn't bring up the fact that me and my stepbrother went out and burglarized the house, but we did. But I didn't tell her it was more his idea than mine, and we didn't even find anywhere until he went to a certain house and he went right in and out of the window. And I'm always almost like, is this an inside job? Are they in on it? Right? Because I never tried to really burglarize a house, right? Until he suggested it, and I jokingly talked about becoming an assassin for the marijuana drug dealers or something. But that's a fantasy, which Mark wanted to really burglarize the house and already staked it out, it seems, right? If you know what window to go in and it'll be unlocked, when usually every window in the house, when you're out the house, is supposed to be locked, right? Not just one specifically open so you can go right in and out, right? Well, if you're along for the ride and you think he's joking, You don't even know you'll find the house when he asks you to do all that. You think it's all a joke, but he comes out with the stuff. Yeah. So it seems so like he went in and out and got what he wanted, and I didn't know the people wasn't in on it. Either. Hell, even the sheriff's cop car drove by, right? But they didn't see me because I was in my ninja garb. I know they didn't. But Mark was in his street clothes. One of us is acting more like it's a fantasy that shouldn't have happened, and the other is trying to make it really happen. Sorry about that, little Mark. Sorry about that, Desiree, but that's what happened. And yes, I was along for the ride, but am I as guilty as Mark, who knew, okay, which house to burglarize? We only burglarized one house that night. We didn't burglarize a bunch of houses. Just one. Just one. As if Mark knew the people himself. And that's why they also got mad with him, because they trusted him he wouldn't do something stupid like that. But I didn't know he would do something stupid like that either. Like I said. Curiosity, huh? That's the one thing I did bad, but I wasn't alone in it, right? It was kind of weird how it happened, right? And that's the whole point, right? Now, does pretending that the South wasn't racist during the Civil War up to now help you in dealing with them? No. Racism can also be done privately, right? In fact, I would sooner a Confederate man be honest that he's that way, than to have to deal with someone who does it in secret. It's like being in the closet gay and you're in the Navy, but you're also married to a woman, right? If the gay man falls in love with the bi man because he has a wife, and that's really is, he's bisexual, but he can get violent on the gay man if he wants more of a relationship with you, right? You understand what I mean? That's the real problem about being in the military. Now, all I would be the night I fail, if I had to argue with someone about this particular topic, all I would be is joking around. But again, if he takes it seriously, I don't know. And it looks like something happened worse than a 3-story fall, right? And the side effects of a real 3-story fall wouldn't have been as graphic as what you're seeing on the x-rays, or the CTs, or the MRIs. No, it wasn't. The higher you are when you fall, and I'm not planning on jumping 2.25 stories to prove it or not, right? And that wouldn't prove it that one time either. I don't know what happened, right? But the point is, though, if you're carrying something too far yourself, whether you're gay or straight, the problem is you got homophobia about what you're doing yourself, right? You're also married to a woman and you don't want her to know you're gay, but that's lying to her. That's doing her wrong. That's the problem too. And Pastor Davis was trying to teach his units to masturbate, but there again, he's around the Navy guys. And they seem to be going for it. That's the problem. Damn. You understand? It's not so much as, right, they're not going for it. It is, they are, or he can't continue that behavior till I join, right? And then they offer me the same deal if I want to be his unit. I just simply said, no, I don't do that with a man. That's considered gay. Even a gay man can give another man a hand job if a prostitute or something, right? So I don't condemn that between the two parties either, right? It ain't my business. But if you ask me if I want to do it, I'm going to say, nah, I prefer a woman to do that. But that's just my preference. Now, again, a fantasy, even if I'm fantasizing about every woman I'm around, right? For different reasons, right? When I'm laying out the fantasy, it don't override reality. No. No matter what I'm fantasizing about and being a heterosexual man, it's mainly sex with a woman. No. But none of that is a crime. Unless you want to go to like Christopher Lambert in The Fortress, and the guy who played Red played the bad guy in that 70s show. Where we can't even dream of a fantasy with our own wives. I know. And you try to interrupt someone's dream life. I know. If they start thinking of a woman and a male, then you're forcing homosexuality on people who don't want to be gay. I know. You can't do that either. But you can. That's the oddity of it, right? You can do everything you want to do, says the Lord. In what chapter of the Bible? Chapter 11, when they're trying to build the Tower of Babel. You got to realize to do everything you want to do and want it now might destroy you from within, right? Because you're rushing to something you don't understand. You're playing know-it-all when you don't know jack shit about it. You're learning about it as you go along, too. You don't already know what is going to be the result of what you're doing. You just want to do it now and do it anyway, like nuclear warheads or development of what's called a neutron bomb. Right? So that's like something you can only use once because it'll affect every living thing. Right? You might also kill pets if you try to target Christians or a certain belief pattern, right? In the brain. Because, see, you got to have a target when you use the neutron bomb, right? I think they'll more target Christian ideas or the way they think. Right? And with the scan of your brain, they got that on record. Right? They might somehow try to, what's the word? Target you. That's the word. I'm not talking about the retail chain. I mean, you're going to be the target of the elimination part. There's almost 2 billion Christians now anyway. There's more Christians than Muslims or any other religion out there. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to wipe you out first. That's what Jesus is really warning you about, right? And one of you will be taken by the neutron bomb, and one of you will be left behind. But either way, you're screwed. You're gone. You're out the picture, right? And if you're still in the picture, woe unto you, as Jesus said as well. I know that. But that's what targeting is. And they're trying to get rid of a third of the population, right? Currently, that would be over 2 billion people, like I said. But you just don't want to believe the prophet when he's prophesying the truth to you, but you done fell for the lie, and the lie don't come out immediately. It comes out when someone in power wants to take over the religion and make it in their image instead of the image of Christ, and they're blaming Peter for their lack of understanding of it, right? He didn't write it out right. Well, to where I understand it or something. It's not Peter's job to witness more than he saw either. You can't make him know all that, right? About Christ, even if he explained it after the cross, right? Now, why am I saying they could have burnt the body? Well, they could have burnt the body. Whether they did or not, I don't know, but there's an obscure reference in Hebrews to the body of the animals being burned outside the camp. That's where I get it, the idea from. That might say that in the future to deny Christ's resurrection, right? And not only will they say they stole the body, right? But they burnt the body and cremated him. That would explain why you can't find the body now. Mm-hmm. The men were fearful and distraught, not over the death of Christ, but over the power of Rome, right? Right. They were more afraid to even go near the tomb. The only ones who weren't were the who women. Because they wouldn't be seen as being able to even push the stone back or push on the stone to do anything. It still would be the men, but then they would have to go between midnight to before dawn, right? Because that's when Mary went to the tomb herself, right? And found it empty, right? Now, if I'm telling you something from the Bible, it's in there. In fact, the reason you can say, and the male and female are one in Christ Jesus, or there's neither male nor female because you're one in Christ Jesus, is Moses says practically the same thing about graven images in the likeness of male or female, right? Now, in our idolatry world, right, and we're all guilty of idolatry, even the Jews, because they're worshiping the male form above the female form. And technically it is, but if there's a third gender, and it's both as one, and it's a rare occurrence because it comes from the angels who sinned, and most of them were probably wiped out with the flood. Mm-hmm. But if one of the daughters of Noah's sons had the gene, or a couple of them did, or at least two, right? That would explain how it passed on too, right? One of the daughters could be XXX, and the other daughter could have been XXY, or one of the sons even. We don't know. We don't know. I know. Because Noah was considered an albino. Now that's a truly white man. But anyone else has more color than Noah. And to be truly black, like I said, would be like being the color of the Bible or the Quran or whatever, right, you use to try and understand your religion, right? But that's all you're doing as well. Mm-hmm. But then you're fighting against people who simply believe in a different idea of God than you. I know. If you make that motive to murder people, you're going to murder anybody. And there ain't nothing a lot of people can do about it except for Jesus himself if he resurrects that person in particular. Now, you're, in my mind, are trying to kill me over trying to find a girlfriend or a wife, even if she works in a strip club. Don't bother me. And like I said to Paris, the first thing I told her is, you'll give me a wet dream tonight. Now, that's all I really remember happening during the lap dance. But, could we have had sex? Yeah. Did we? I don't recall. I keep telling you that, too. The ones I do recall was up to Molly Z. Now, like I said, unless you're trying to bring me a bunch of women at night, and again, that's supposed to be a fantasy too, or you're making sure that don't happen. Well, A, what business is it of yours whether it does or not, and B, if you are blacking me out, I'm back my money. Is that why you're on about my hair so much, which is still the same thing since over a year ago now? It ain't changed a bit. It ain't got higher or lower, so it must not be really receding. Right? And y'all keep bringing that up, so can I. You're pretending that I can't point out to you my hair is the same over a year, and you've been bringing it up over a year. Okay. No, I can't, actually. Who the fuck are you? You think you're my god or something? No. When you're the one acting like you know I'm going bald or my hairline is receding when it's not. It's the same as last year. Right? This is a year later too, and you're still on about it. I bet one of my messages is going to bring up the hair issue this morning, which I ain't even checked yet. Because I know what you've been saying, and you're wrong still. You could say it for a million years and still be wrong, and all I can do is refute what you're saying is wrong. And then I can say, you're the one being delusional then, right? Because you are then, right? Being delusional yourself and denying your delusion, right? Is about my hair, not your hair. But like I said, another thing is the color of my hair is still what? Brownish, right? But it ain't changed. I know, right? It's only grown out longer, right? And that's a delusion too. Again, why would my hair not be the same as last night? Are you trying to shave it like Aslan's in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is a movie I saw? In fact, we all saw that movie, right? Where they shaved the lion's mane, which is the same as shaving my hair. And if I had sex with a woman last night, what'd you do? Shoot me and then come over and shave it after I'm post mortem, after I'm dead? Right? You try and shove something up my butt? Because sometimes I have pain in that area. So I also still tell the 3 stories. Whatever it is, either you shoving something up my butt the other day, or the fall is still affecting my body, right? At least with arthritic pain, which is all in the sacrum region. And literally, I have a broken ass. So, you're a scrub. You don't have a broken ass. You also don't have an ankle that develops arthritis pain, right? For over 20 years before you even find out what the hell is wrong, right? In your memory of it, right? I'm not saying they're not trying to show me this while I'm in the hospital. What I'm saying is I'm so out of it, I don't remember. And whatever you're explaining to me, I still don't understand your point of view of it, and you can't change that either. But it's still, what? Not a crime to do that. If you believe you can walk, and you start walking, even if they don't believe it, they see it happening anyway, don't they? So what you gonna do about it? That's my faith in God. Jesus healed the 2 paralyzed men in the Bible. The one is by the pool, The other is lowered down through the roof, and simply told his sins are forgiven him. Take up thy mat and walk. Mm-hmm. Is the second commandment. Now, because Jesus also defended what he said and defended the situation, the man believed and arose and walked. That's how it works. That's how it works. You gotta believe someone's got your back too, or your neck, which he could have been paralyzed from the neck down if he's laying down on a cot. At least. We know what that means today. I don't know. But we're not told the details of it. All we're told is some man is lowered through the roof by his 4 friends, right? And Jesus tells him, take up thy bed and walk, or mat and walk, or cot and walk. And then they get all uppity. And then Jesus talks about the forgiveness of sins, right? And then they ask, well, who can forgive sins but God? But then he says that you may know we have the power on earth to forgive sins ourselves. Men and women have the power to forgive the sins of the sinners so that they really become a true saint. And realize you're not going to stop every sinner no matter how much you try. There'll always be someone who wants to do other people wrong, right? Now, yeah, it becomes a problem, and that's why you got the jail system. But even then, that don't deter the behavior, does it? Not even electrocution or murder of the prisoner themselves stops other people from doing evil to each other, does it? No. No, that's the whole problem. That's why I don't know if me and the stripper had sex or not. But I could have, since I had sex with Rose 7 times in a row one night. And I also could have with the girl at the Burger King. Or the girl at the Bliss. All right. And it was the same girl as last time. Why am I going to forget her? I might forget her fake name she told me. Whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But it's a fantasy even if we had sex and they black me out. But the legality of sex is you can consent the sex even with a stripper. As long as I don't pay her anything in addition to, right? For it, but the lap dance, which is so many minutes, right? Now, the weird thing is it, again, went over the minutes, right? And all it takes sometimes for a man to come is how many minutes? 1 to 2, depending on how tight the pussy is, right? Or vagina, whatever you want to call it. It's just a slang term for the vagina of the female. Right? It's pussy, right? You also have the pussy cat. And why? Because pussy cats think each other. Because their own bodies, right? Well, that's the point about me talking about lesbianism. If I'm gay, I'm a lesbian type male. Even if I look a certain way to you, right? Say I look a little more feminine than masculine in your opinion, right? That's okay by me. I'm still a straight male. But when you try to force me to do something I don't want to do, we're going to have a disagreement there, right? Even if you're trying to do other things to me that aren't kosher either or aren't right either. But why is that true? Why did Jesus have to forgive people on the cross who put him there? Even his own disciples, because only one of them betrayed him, right? And that same one was replaced the same way the 12 would have had to betray him, right? But Peter didn't write that part out, did he? And Jesus is talking about the sop and all that, and the bread and all that, right? And coincidentally, him and Judas went for the bread at the same time and touched hands, right? Well, that's, again, a coincidence, but also if Judas was chosen by lots, right, to betray him, I don't know. They're not telling you that part. They're leaving that part out, but it is possible. But you can't prove it. Now, only John was the only male before the cross, perhaps because of his youthful appearance, they say, right? He was the youngest of the disciples anyway, right? But then, okay, sometimes you lean to your own understanding, like with the water in the wine, right? Jesus and the serpents knew it was water. The only one who didn't know it was wine is the governor, right? Who drunk the water as if it was wine. But he had also been drinking wine all day. And what else could Jesus offer them if he ran out of wine? Water. But who said it was better, best wine he ever tasted? The governor. But he also didn't know that it was water. And who confirmed that it was wine? John and the governor. Jesus and the servants knew it was still water. So in John's opinion, Jesus turned the water into wine. But guess how much water is in wine? 85%. The rest of it is alcohol. There's your answer. Superstition. But why? Because we know for sure that the governor who had been drinking the wine all night, up to that point too, believed it to be what? Wine, right? Never thought any different of it till the day he died. Especially if John said it was made into wine. Well, like he said, what is a real delusion? And who was really delusional there to not understand why the governor thought it wine? John. Who wrote down the story? John. Who's the only one to write down that story? John. And why? Because his superstition outrode his common sense. That's why. But you still, unless you're there, can't drink the water that is now wine and determine if it was water or wine. And you're all drinking the wine up to that point. Right? So you're not all a little tipsy either. No, no. And you haven't been tasting wine all night either. So the taste of wine, even if it's water, wouldn't still be on your tongue. Yes, it would. And what does that mean, simply put? John believed the governor over his own common sense when it was still water. It was still water. It's like feeding the 5,000 and the 4,000. No. There is a way, if they were stingy, to explain that parable, a miracle as well. And they were hiding the food they brought themselves, right? Most people, when they don't know how long the sermon is going to be, if they're smart, will bring you lunch. And especially in Jesus' day, I guess. Right? We don't really have to worry about that now, but even Christian Fellowship will feed you lunch or dinner or something like that, or lunch, right? If you go to the sermon all day. And dinner and dinner. But why is that? They want you to stay around their little church and get indoctrinated in their little ways and their madness and their cult-like behavior too, since Constantine took over the church. That's the end of the matter, right? But if, for instance, Charles Stanley don't know or been through what I've been through, therefore he's preaching the message he was taught to preach, right? And you can't change a duck into a swan. Mm-hmm. Though you called the swan in the ugly duckling a duck. Why? Because you didn't know it was a duck. It was a round duck. But it looked different than the duck, too. So it wasn't a duck. It was a swan the whole time. That's why they say if it walks like it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Just don't like being around. You see, you can go to church and be terrible shape by the time you get out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
But I'm the one schizophrenic and bipolar and all that and the delusional, right?
Here I am. That's my life.
Most prophets are. Because they're trying to make sense out of something you don't even want to half-ass read.
To be in me what only you can be. And I'm going to trust that you have absolute control and that you're going to make it all come out in such a fashion. It's going to be a blessing to you, Lord, and a blessing to me. Sometimes the most trying, painful circumstances in life turn out to be a seedbed, just a seedbed of awesome peace that God sends to your life. Now listen, you've heard all of this, and every single one of us knows in our heart right now if we have peace or not. You don't have to ask anybody else. You know whether you have peace or not. Watch this carefully. You can have it. No matter what you're going through, you can have it. The invitation to peace is always there from Jesus. So what does it require of me? Surrender my life to him. Okay.
About that. NFL player turned Fox Sport analyst Emmanuel Acho will replace longtime host Chris Harrison in an upcoming Bachelor special. It comes after Harrison was canceled by social media for defending a contestant who was accused of racist behavior. The show says that the veteran's host hiatus is temporary. Let's hope so. I'm on Team Harrison on
But
this
if you're invited to a function, right?
I'm friends with him dating back to our sports days. We've had many debates and discussions and disagreements.
And it's tied to the old South, right? And there are people who still do that in the South, right? Whether publicly or privately, by the way. And would you sooner them be honest about it or lie about it? Even the girl said, well, I didn't quite understand that at the time. But at the same time, you're trying to strike down all forms of racism except racism against your former slave owners, right? See, that's what you're doing. You're not forgiving the slavery, right, itself.
Amazon has told you. I understand they've said it violates your book after 3 years, by the way, of being in the marketplace.
their content guidelines. How exactly?
And you're just trying to change the rules, right?
Well, they won't tell us. All they will say is that after 3 years.
Well, that's the point about slavery in the Bible. Moses does try to get you to treat your slaves more fairly if you're going to have them, right? And if you beat them, you're supposed to let them go free,
We have
right?
no way of knowing what they now find objectionable about the book, 3 years after the fact. But you and I can guess, can't we, Ryan? In other words,
I don't know. And like I said, but you can't reason with someone who's ingrained in racism, right? Immediately, it takes time. Plus, they're going to feel like you're trying to force them to change when they're not ready to change yet. And they'll get a what's called superior attitude. See, if I have a superior attitude towards you, whether I say something about it or not, you don't know what I'm thinking. You can't read another human being's mind, right? And you're not able to even guess, right? Because they try to keep all emotions out their face. Because, like I told you, a true psychopath is someone who doesn't show emotions even while they're shooting your ass with a gun, right? Trying to kill you. And they believe the gun is the ultimate weapon here. But Isaiah says, no weapon man comes up with shall prosper against those who follow the true and living God, right? Not even your gun, right? But you're not ready for that. It's not that the gun won't kill me any more than the spear or the cross didn't kill Christ before they speared him to make sure he was dead. Now, you're in denial, though. You're not picturing it when you understand how deep the spear went in, right? Now, it had to pass through the lungs and into the heart for blood and water to come out and fall on the ground, right? That's any medical sciences or understanding of how to kill someone like the centurion had, right? To make sure he was dead, right? He had to go all the way into the heart, right? And they looked on him whom they pierced. Now, another way you can pierce a religious man is raping him, right? Or trying to stick an inanimate object up his butt after he's dead, which is still necrophilia. But he still healed and went out and left, like every time, man. Every time. Whether you see him leave or not, the body can't just disappear. Or what? He transfigured and, appeared outside the club and then left, right? Because my car was gone that I parked in the parking lot. And because you don't have a handicapped parking space across from the VIP, at least one, I can park in one of the VIP spaces. Right? Anyway. And like I said, you know what I want. One of the dancers to dance with me. And then I'll leave. And then I'm gone, right? For another month. And you can go back to whatever the hell you're doing. It don't matter if I remember the sex. If she remembers the sex, or you cause me to go over the time, I'm going to know the main reason would be what? Sex. Right? That's because we disagree with it, right? You're not treating the person working in the club like a person working in the club who can have a boyfriend. She can have sex with whoever she wants, right? Ain't your business whether she's married or not, right? Why can you charge someone you can't sleep with adultery with adultery? One of the parties was married to a man that was caught with him. And like I told you, you can be wrong and still think you're right. The problem is, you're relying on John's testimony, but not hearing what he's saying. Nor are you listening to what Moses says about stoning people who are caught in the act of adultery, and why would she be doing it in the morning with another man, and why did they catch them finally? This is also a year later, after a second Passover. And there's only 3 Passovers in John, which means Christ's ministry did not last over 3 years, right? It might have been barely over 2 or 2.5, right? Because each calendar starts differently. And the sacred calendar starts in what month? February. But the birthing calendar starts in what month? September, right? But that's why you can have 3 dates if John said in the 6th month, including June. And that would produce 3 different birth dates too. One would go to November, one would go to maybe around March, right? And one would go all the way to almost Judean, right? Okay, and this is the order. February would be November. September would be when? 9 months from then, right? So that's what? October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, right? October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. And June would be the one in March. And it's really May, not... So again, the June is the 6th month, right? On the Roman calendar. So again, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. All right. See? And again, it's 40 weeks minus 2, which is 38 weeks, right? Because the first 2 weeks don't count, right? That's why you ask your ex-girlfriend questions. If she's telling you 3 years later she had a child in 97 after she was with you, but she wants it to be another man's baby and not yours. Well, maybe, baby. It's fine. But you can't murder the boy at 3 or 4, and that you go to jail for. The boy can't disappear off the planet like I'm going to go stalking you when I'm trying to date you. And you don't seem to know the difference. So who's more delusional and schizophrenic there? You. You're acting like my mental illness would make someone act in a movie. And I'm not. Why? Because you know better. Because I know better than that way. But I'm still human. You can still trick me. I can still make mistakes. Right? If I don't know what's going on, I'm still not omniscient. Only a spirit is omniscient. Right? Not us as human beings. Right? And could we be just going through the same things over and over again in a loop, not even aware we're in a loop? Yes. That's how we're in darkness until we come into the light. Right? But the darkness don't mean you're dead. It just means the body you're dwelling in was not here until it was here. But now you're here. And you're always here. But you always act the fool. Right? But is there anything wrong with the white man dating the white man? No. Or a white man dating a white woman? No. Or a white woman dating a white woman? No. But who makes it a sin? The knowledge of the sin, right? To know good and evil with Satan gave us the knowledge of good and evil. Oh, no. But then why does it say the man has become as one of us to know good and evil? When God made man, he said, let us. Who's he talking to there? Make man in our image, after our likeness. Right? And it's a plural wording there. Right? So there must be three forms, right? For it to be plural. Androgynous fully, male, and then female. Mm-hmm. And that means Constantine calls the androgynous image is above the male image, doesn't like the idea of that. Mm-hmm. And has a problem with it. Right. In fact, he had such a problem with it, there was only one copy of the Nag Hammadi Library, which is what they call it now, right? Or the Gnostic group core belief, right, system, that survived till today. And like the Dead Sea Scrolls, was discovered in Egypt instead of Jordan, near Israel. No. Which is where that was discovered. But there were another group of Christians, right, who believe differently than this current group of Christians believes. And you've been lying about it for 1,700 years, not even knowing the core beliefs. But now we got the Gnostic Gospels. Now you can read it for yourself if you are man enough to realize why you're not the image of God. Christ is. Adam was. And we're all from Adam after the fall. And we're all male and female after the fall, except for the few hermaphrodites who were born through the angels who sinned with Satan in Genesis chapter 6. Now, can I keep telling you that till I die? I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to tell you that till the Lord decides my journey is over, right? If I understand something you don't, I try to tell you, but not in a condemning way like Jesus did, right? If he didn't, there couldn't be two sects within the first 200 years anyway after Christ, right? There must be two doctrines then in the Bible itself, right? One fulfills all, by the way. One is only focused on one of the three images, the male. But then you still are denying the law of what it means when Moses says don't make male or female images alone to represent the image of God, right? Because they're not the image of God. I am. And what was the difference with Moses and Jesus, right? Adam, Moses, and Jesus. They were both. Male and female in one body. Else Pharaoh should have killed him. Right? Or he's breaking his own law. Unless you're suggesting it was he who impregnated Jochebed, which they think is Moses' mother's name, right? Or whatever, right? I know it's in there somewhere. Jochebed, right? Something like that. Now, his wife's name was Zipporah. Notice the H at the end there, too. And Moses' name is the feminine form of reed or sea or ark, something like that. But it's the feminine form of the word. Yes, it is. It too ends with a H in the Hebrew. Now, if it ends in a TH, or again, YM, or just an M, or just a T sometimes, right? It's trying to say bat means girl. Bath might mean girls, right? Understand? Right. Okay.